Okay, so again, good afternoon. So we're on the topic of carburation. So commonly, a typical four-barrel carburetor is installed in a single-pane manifold. So in a longer version of an engine design, ang makikita natin is carburetor instead of electronic fuel injection. So nowadays, most of the vehicle are uh, functions with the aid of electronic fuel injection system. So as you can see, in order for us to truly understand what is electronic fuel injection, so we will be having first a discussion for carburation. So when you say carburation, if you can tune a carburetor, you can tune also an EFI. Ibig sabihin, if you have a better understanding on what is carburetor, you can also have a better understanding on what is electronic fuel injection is all about. So every single component of a carburetor has its counterpart in the tables of modern EFI systems. So in order for us to thoroughly understand the functions of its electronic components, so we will begin by discuss what is carburetor first. So many diehard racers swear by their class or double pumpers, and it's tough to argue with the results. So the reasoning is dead simple. Carburetors by design must deliver an amount of fuel directly proportional to the velocity of air flowing through ventures. So let's start with the fuel side. Obviously, a pump is required to transport fuel from the tank to the carburetor, but the side effect is a lightly pressurized feed to the valves. The next, the higher the level, the more pressure we get even on a relatively small scale. If we introduce a hole near the bottom, we get more pressure if the level above the soil is higher or if there is a added pressure on the liquid itself. So controlling the size of the hole controls the flow rate of the fuel when something begins to draw from the hole. So commonly, this is the practice wherein yung iba ang ginagawa, pinapasa nila para medyo mas matipid yung pagkonsumo ng gas. So at this stage or in API applications, so wala na tayong ginagawang ganun. So electronically controlled and then the sensor detected if there is a malfunction and then once the sensor sense that there is a malfunction, it will be electronically sent to the computer or to the ECU unit. So the ventures of a carburetor act exactly like the wings of an airplane. As the velocity of the air increases in the smaller diameter of the venture, Bernoulli's law states that the pressure must drop. So this yields a low pressure zone immediately outside the fuel discharge. So the pressure difference is what draws fuel from the bolts into the engine. Since both the venturis and the fuel discharge are fixed in size, their flow ratios are also fixed. So very simple, more pressure drops, more fuel flow. So the biggest compromise here is that other than that idle where the mixture screws have enough authority to change things, we are locked to one flow ratio of air to fuel to primary circuit and one flow ratio for the secondary, which is so equipped. So this means tuning carburetor often boils down to a compromise of a desired air-fuel ratio between cruise, light throttle, and wide open throttle. So meaning, when we considered in carburation, we consider three things. Yun nga, yung sabi natin, yung air-fuel ratio between cruise, the light throttle, and wide open throttle. So those are some considerations during carburation. So with crude adjustment at best to control transition and no real way to adjust for non-linear performance of across a wide RPM range, there is a room for improvement. So additionally, since actual fuel flow is proportional to air velocity in the venturi rather than actual air mass flow, air-fuel ratios can change slightly with changes in ambient conditions. So the term good enough works for many race cars, but leaves a lot to be designed on a daily driven car expecting good economy and emissions. So ang mga ganitong conditions pero meron pa rin mga gumagawa ng ganito na nagseset ng performance or ng drivability at saka yung fuel consumption kagaya ng mga sa Shell Eco Marathon. Sa Shell Eco Marathon I've learned na nung previously they are designing yung mga carbs type na wherein yung halimbawa 20 ml na gas, kailangan mong patakbo ng halimbawa 5 kilometers. So, in designing of on that, syempre they are considering yung throttle at saka yung efficiency. And then as you can see in the picture, we have the typical carburation type. It is the state of the art circa in 1969, and the 427 Psychopo Camaro was the airframe of musculars of the era and inspiration of today's Z06 Corps. Okay po. So fuel flows from the bows and from the jets into the venturis of the carburetor. The smaller area of the venturi creates a low pressure zone that draws fuel into the airstream, as you can see in the picture. So the dry intact track of a modern fuel injected engine shown from filter, throttle body to manifold. So fuel is not added until just before the air enter the cylinders, allowing for more convoluted path design without paddling. Okay, so siguro para mas maintindihan nyo kung ano yung ibig sabihin ko dito, so I will show you some siguro mga 2 minutes video presentations on this idea. Wait lang. Bagal.
Sports is a great teacher. It teaches discipline, grit, and teamwork. Sa sports natututo maging champion sa buhay. Get your child into sports today.
Yeah.
Sun Life Save and Protect. Life insurance with money-back guarantee.
Binugbog ng back-to-back shifts? Itong sa'yo!
Hello everyone. Welcome to
Babawi
the
ka sa
FT Share
tibay
channel.
with Bear
In
Brand
this video, we will discuss the two devices that function to mix fuel and air, namely the injection and the carburetor. We will discuss the advantages and disadvantages
Glow
of
through
each
every
of these
adventure
devices.
with Vaseline Serum Burst Lotions. With Glutaglow, Hyaluron SPF 50 in a unique lightweight serum.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the FT Share channel. In this video, we will discuss the two devices that function to mix fuel and air, namely the injection and the carburetor. We will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each of these devices. And we hope that this video will certainly help all of you to evaluate which of the two is more suitable for your needs. And for those of you who are interested in further discussion about each of these devices, we also have a separate video, so you can check out the video link in the description column below. And without further ado, here's the discussion. Basically, these two devices have a function to mix fuel and air at the right ratio. For the first device, the carburetor. This tool has a working mechanism that is highly dependent on the engine capacity and engine speed. Because as we know that when the intake step occurs, there will be a negative pressure that produces suction power. Now with this low pressure or vacuum causes the movement of gasoline and air through the main jet when venturi is open. But on the other hand, due to this mechanism of operation, the fuel mixture ratio with this carburetor is fixed or cannot be changed as needed at any RPM. And to change the air-fuel ratio, we have to change the carburetor settings. For example, to change the carburetor settings for more power, we can change the size of the main jet to be larger, but the effect will make fuel consumption inefficient, and vice versa. Now we enter the camp of the biggest competitor, the injection system. The injector can set the amount of fuel
Okay, so as you can see, there is a big difference between the application and operations of the carburetor and the injection. So the first thing na sinabi ay yung control of fuel. Ano daw sabi dyan ng difference ng dalawa? Any sharing? Ano daw yung unang nabanggit? Yan, nagle-lift na naman ang mga pumags na to. Nakapag-attendance na mga nagle-lift na. May nakikinig pa ba?
Apo, sir. Sir, present ako.
Ay, sige, andaya. Umimik ka na. Ano daw yung nabanggit na pinagkaiba ng carburetor at saka ng FI, nagbigay ng isa? Yes, Alay, Charles Darwin.
Sir, yung pinagkaiba po ng carburetor sa FI, yung carburetor, sir, ano po, madaling ayusin kapag nasira na diba, sa mga prone areas sa mga nasiraan, madaling gawin. Pag FI po, pag wala po kayong tools, mahirapan po kayo mag-ayos na. Yun lang po.
Okay po. So, ano pa yung nabanggit dyan? Okay, so ang
Sir.
sabi, yes.
Pagka po sa FI sir ay more on electronics. Tapos sa carburetor po ay para pong mechanical mixture po ng fuel and air.
Okay po. So, and then dyan daw, di ba nakalagay dyan sa, ano yung master cylinder, yung jet, kapag daw gusto nating pagandahin yung performance ng carb, so pwede daw nating lakihan yung master jet dun sa carb. Ano, ang epekto nga lang, yung unang-una ay mas magiging makonsumo sa gas. Ano? So mamaya magtatawag ulit ako ha. Makinig naman, manood naman kayo paano may matutunan kayo. Okay, let's continue.
Through the ECU, which calculates inputs based on data variables obtained from several sensors. Other sensors include the oxygen sensor, throttle, manifold pressure, gyro sensor, crankshaft sensor, and engine speed. The data from each sensor is accumulated to produce a good air-fuel mixture and estimate fuel output in various include the oxygen sensor, throttle, manifold pressure, gyro sensor, crankshaft sensor, and engine speed.
Okay po. So pinotes ko dyan ano. So as you can see on the video presentations, it is being described that the EFI has the following sensors. So we have the oxygen sensor, mali pa spelling ano, OXI. So that is OXY. Oxygen sensor, we have the throttle sensor, manifold pressure sensor, gyro sensor, we have the crankshaft sensor, and we have the speed sensor. Is anyone can describe the functions of each sensors? Anybody from the group? Yes, Mr. Andaya. Choose one.
Itong oxygen na lang sensor, sir.
Yes, sige.
So yung sensor sa sir ng ano,
That detects.
yung oxygen na pumapasok sa ano, sir,
During.
intake.
Okay, tama. Okay,
Time.
tama. So, the oxygen sensor senses the level of oxygen proceed and going during intake stroke, or which is the necessary, as well as the level of exhaust. Yes, Andaya.
Pero yung throttle position sensor, ano sir, PPS, most common yan sir na ngayon, napapanood ko sa mga video, nabibira yan eh. Minsan pinapalitan, yung iba ginagawa. Sense niya yung throttle. Yan sir.
Okay po, sige. Anyone pa? Sino mo makapag-share dyan sa mga sensor? Yes, Andaya. I see JR Maranan.
Sir, yung speed sensor.
Yes. Anong
Sinusukat ko ang pag-rotate ng speed ng gulong.
Okay.
Para ko makita ang date, convert sa data.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Another? Jurgen Samonte.
Sir, yung ano ba, manifold sensor.
Ano yung function
Tayo,
naman?
ano ba, ito ba, sinusukat po nito ang pressure na sa intake manifold. Tinutulungan po nito yung ECU para malaman kung gaano pong karaming hangin ang pumapasok sa makina. Resulta po, ginagamit po ito para mag-adjust po ng tamang fuel-air ratio.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay, next, parang si Jurgen ay nasa bigayan ng ayuda. Yes, Enrico. Nasa ayuda.
Sir, yung crankshaft sensor, sir.
Okay, crankshaft. Anong function?
Yung po yung nagmamonitor ng ng rotation speed ng engine. Tsaka
Okay.
siya po yung nagana ng position kung anong position na.
Okay po. Sige, Mr. Daniel Aliswag. Mike Daniel Aliswag.
Sir, ang speed sensor po,
Yes.
minomonitor po ng speed sensor ang ano po, yung rotational speed ng mga transmission, tsaka yung mga speed din po ng sasakyan. Kasi sinesend po sa parang sa speedometer po para malaman po kung gaano kabilis.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Mark Jude Bendanya.
Sir, sa oxygen sensor ay yun sir rin ako nagkasar sa ating tambucho na nilalabas ng exhaust para mabasa yung AFR o yung sir yung sunog mismo o yung takaw. Sa throttle naman po yun po yung TPS yung ano po sir ng ating po sa linyador kung okay po sagad yung alalay at saka po yung gitna at sa diagnose din po nababasa din sir. Sa
Okay.
manifold pressure sir yun po yung nakakabit sa ating sa airbag sir, doon po nakakabit yun sir. Kung doon po nababasa yung pag overgas sir o barado sir ang filter. Tapos speed sensor sir ano po sir, nakakonekta po yun sa gear na may magnet po sir sa dulo. Para nababasa po sa milyahe po ang speed ng sasakyan.
Okay po. Thank you, Jude. Parang meron akong assignment sa inyo nung last time na kayo mag-groupings into 4. Tama ba? Nagawa nyo na?
Sir, hindi niyo po sinend po sir sa Google Classroom yung gagawin po.
Wala pa ako na-send. Pagkatapos ay
Opo sir, sabi niyo po i-send niyo po sa Google Classroom.
wala na sa isip ko. Pero ibig sabihin ko may details na kayo ng mga ginawa nyo. Kasi kung kahit hard copy nyo nang ipasa next Saturday. Tapos siguro ang isa ko pa ring task na papagawa ay since kayo ay groupings naman, halimbawa sa Hyundai, Honda, Toyota, Mitsubishi, i-identify nyo yung mga sensors na yan dun sa mga brand na yon. Tapos pipicturean nyo ng actual. Okay po ba? As an additional
Okay po, sir.
activity. Kaya naman yan, madali lang naman yan. Yung
Yes,
actual
sir.
oxygen sensor. And then
Mark
next,
Jude Johnson.
so actually yung mga sensors na yan yung mga common na na-detect ng kapag ang problema ay yung nag-check engine. Kita niyo ba sa mga reels FB, common siya na kapag when you experience check engine on your vehicle, this will be the probable cause. Una, oxygen sensor, manifold pressure sensor, crankshaft sensor, di ba yan yung mga common na i-identify. So, sometimes, yung mga sensors kasi na yan, nagkakaroon ng malfunctions, gaya nga ng sabi ninyo, So, minsan kailangan lang ng linis, minsan naman, sa sobrang tagal na nangangalawang talaga, kagaya ng mga oxygen sensor. At the same time, due to their strategic locations, talagang prone sila na masisira. At the same time, kung sila ay nababasa o naalog, talagang maaari silang masira. At lalo na kung ang sasakyan naman ay for certain mileage ay experience or for tremendous running, syempre talagang magkaklag na siya kagaya ng mga sensors na yan. Yung mga manifold pressure at saka yung mga oxygen sensor wherein kalimitan siya ay nagiging root cause ng mga check engines. Okay po. So, ngayon, ang pinakamahirap lang sa pagre-repair ng mga FI engines ay yung dapat may gamit ka. Kasi initially, ang ginagawa natin ngayon kapag tayo ay nag-aayos ng sasakyan, dadating sa sasakyan, so hindi natin siya bini-visual inspection muna eh. So ang ating ginagawa, we put the engine analyzer dun sa ating engine box or sa ating computer box, and then dinedetect natin yung code. Una muna, pagka nakita natin na or nakita natin yung kung ano yung symptoms, tapos lumabas, madali para sa atin ma-identify. So, ang nagiging problema lamang kapag may dumating na problema, may merong complaint si customer, ang problema, nung sinalpak yung sa engine analyzer, walang problems na detect. So, after nun, kung ang first step kasi is to identify the error using the engine analyzer. Once the engine analyzer is failed or the engine analyzer does not detect the immediate concern of the driver or the vehicle owner, ang sunod natin gagawin is yung ating manual inspection. So during manual inspection, so we have a background dun sa possible problems or symptoms, and then depende dun sa symptoms ngayon, base dun sa mga experience ng ating mga technicians, we can go to the manual inspections. During manual inspection, we go with the basic muna. For example, hard starting, pero during hindi na-detect, okay ang battery. So, during hard starting, so syempre, inspect mo natin yung basic. We inspect with the battery, we inspect dun sa ating starter motor, and then bago pa tayo pumunta dun sa electronic components. And then after visual inspection, and then we create a minor repair base dun sa complaints, and then we visually check muna if the components is clean, not clogged, or not defective. Ngayon, kapag halimbawa, kita mo yung mga sensors ay madumi lang, commonly titingnan nila kung kaya pa ng linis. Pag kaya pa ng linis, edi okay. And then kung hindi naman, pinalitan, tapos nandun pa rin yung problema, ibig sabihin, hindi yun yung sensor na yun ang problema. So afterwards, edi dire-diretso lang. Pero commonly, kung makikita nyo sa FB, yung mga reels, if you will follow and subscribe dun sa mga mechanics, makikita nyo na ang pagre-repair ng mga ganyang sensor ay using the engine analyzer, and then after hindi ma-detect ang engine analyzer, i-visual inspect. Tapos yung common cause kasi meron na rin tayong pinaka-chart na for example ay black smoke, white smoke, so alam na natin yung titignan natin mga components. And then after magawa natin yung repair ay i-road test natin yung sasakyan na ni-repair. After ma-road test tapos nawala yung complaint, ibig sabihin yun yung problem. Okay po. So far, do you have any additional inputs? Baka meron kayo idadagdag. Yung mga nagre-recitation sa akin, nilalagyan ko siya ng tara ha. So nilalagyan ko ng tara. Kaya yung hindi umimik man lang sa buong semester, anong i-grade ko sa inyo? So paano halimbawa si Jude, naka 50 points na, tapos halimbawa si Tyrone ay kahit isang points ay wala. So anong bibigay natin grade sa iba if you are not sharing? So please put your inputs in every stage, in every topic, or in every subtopics that we are discussing. Okay po? So let us continue.
The data from each sensor is accumulated to produce a good air-fuel mixture and estimate fuel output in various conditions. The injector's fuel output can differ in each engine condition.
So, pinopost ko by and by. So, as you can see, ano nga, so yung kanina, di ba, when we talk with EFI, so meron tayong input, output, at saka ano ba yung role ng ating sensors dito? Sinong makakapag-explain ng role ng sensors? Anybody?
Ano po yun, sir?
So, di ba we are talking with sensors, we are talking with the ECU, and we are talking with the FI components. Anyone who can share kung ano yung functions ng mga sensors together with the ECU? Medyo magulo din yung tanong. Sige. Sino yung nagre-raise? Okay, Tyrone. Tyrone ba yun?
Sir, function po ng ECU tapos mga sensor.
Together with ano.
Ano po? Yung pong mga sensor nagsesend po ng signal sa ECU para po sa pag-operate ng engine. Kumbaga po ay connecta po yun.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Next, we have Charles.
Sir, yung mga sensors po, sila po yung nagdi-deliver dun sa ECU para po maging accurate at maging tama po yung information na natatanggap ng ECU. So magkakaroon po ng adjustment yung ECU sa ating fuel, sa power at low emissions. Yun lang po, sir. At saka yung ECU po, parang yun po yung brain dun po sa ating engine. Yun lang po.
Okay. Sige, Jude, may dadagdag ka? Jude?
Wala na sir, sabi na ni Darwin na eh.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Dr.
Mark Jude is idol.
Yes.
Okay. Oy, Jude, may utang kang quiz. Kaso hindi na kita mabibigyan ng quiz. Bakit ba nag-message ka sa akin ni Tuesday? Dapat nag-message ka kahit nung linggo.
Sir, ganun po yun, sir. Di ka po umuwi po sa amin. Ay, wala pala po power. Gawa po nung bumaha. Ay, nagka-power. Oh, wala pa po, sir, power ng linggo. Pag-uwi ko pa lang po ng dorm, tsaka lang po ako nakapagbukas.
Ay siya, yun. Bawi-bawi ka na lang. Ano? So yun, as you can see, ang FI components, we have the sensors. The sensors are the one responsible for sensing the whole operations and mechanisms of the vehicle. Once the sensor detected that there is a malfunction, it also transmits the problem with the ECU, and then the ECU flashes on the dashboard of panel board of a driver, wherein nire-reflect niya if there is a problem. Kaya kapag may problema, the ECU easily reflected on the panel board or dashboard the check engine signals. And also, if the sensors detected that there is no problem, okay, so the function of the system is okay. So there is no flashing of any check engines or any indications. So basically, parang ganun lang din ano. Yung mga organs kapag okay, walang sinesend na problema, walang manifestations na may problema. At the same time, yung mga sensors, if they are functioning, so syempre yung engine ay okay ang takbo. So walang karag-karag, walang yung parang nalulunod, walang parang and then meron namang physical manifestation na okay ang ating sasakyan. So, and then also, aside from creating a signals ng mga sensors dun sa ECU, meron din naman tayong physical manifestation. So, for example, hirap umahon, humihina na yung hatak. So, what will be the probable cause? So, in some instances, there are instances naman na yung mga indications ng mga sensors at ng ECU ay hindi na detect. Kagaya dun sa mga, 'di ba sa mga FB Reels, napapanood nyo ba na may mga instances na yung sensor ay hindi nag-send ng talagang problema na nararamdaman na driver. So in that way, papasok pa rin yung ating tawagan, yung ating cause and effect analysis. So aside from the using of those sensors. Okay po. So let us continue.
One of the sensors used in the engine is the temperature sensor. For instance, the temperature sensor is responsible for regulating the engine's temperature. When the engine is started in cold,
lalag. Okay, so dyan yung unang dinidiscuss also yung tinatawag nating temperature sensor. So, who can describe the function of temperature sensor? Anyone? Yung iba, pwedeng mag-volunteer. Gerald, Tinapay, pwedeng explain mo what is temperature sensor? Gerald? Yes, Jovan, Kevin. Comenta.
Ano po, sir? Ang temperature sensor po ay isa pong device, part po ng sasakyan po na nagsusukat ng init at lamig po ng makina at pinapadala po nito mga impormasyon sa ECU po.
Okay. Any additional? Yes, Tyrone. Masipag naman ni Tyrone, nabanggit ko na pangalan. Sige, Tyrone.
Sir, temperature sensor po, ano po, nagsesend po ng
Signal.
signal po sa sa ECU, tapos po nalabas din po sa gauge, minsan doon po sa mga digital gauge. Kung mataas na po ang sensor, delikado na po sa makina, gayon po.
Okay,
May
tama.
chance po mag-overheat, ganun po.
Yes, tama. Very good. Okay po. So I think malinaw na yung temperature sensor. So let's proceed.
One of the sensors used in the engine is the
Nako, naglalaga
temperature
na ako.
sensor. For instance, the temperature sensor is responsible for regulating the engine's temperature. When the engine is started in cold conditions, the ECU extends the electrical power to the injector to provide more fuel.
Okay, so yan. Anong sabi dyan? There is a tawag doon, restrictions or recommendations. So syempre high-tech na tayo ngayon. When the vehicle runs on a cold climate or hot weather, so the ECU add additional efforts. So sabi dyan, kapag ka daw malamig, nag-start, anong ginagawa ng temperature sensor? Sige na nga, ating continue muna.
Allowing the vehicle to heat up faster. This is why the injector engine does not require a choke. The second example pertains to the function of the oxygen sensor. When the engine is driven at high RPM and the ECU detects exhaust gases with high oxygen levels, the ECU will respond by increasing fuel supply. The goal is to prevent power loss and ensure the engine continues to work optimally. This principle applies vice versa. In addition, injectors can still be customized like carburetors by manipulating PWM through a computer by performing remapping. PWM stands for pulse width modulation, which is used to regulate the opening and closing of the injection. In a 4-stroke engine with injectors, the injection will open and close every 1 power cycle. As we know from the previous video about 4-stroke engines, there are 2 engine rotations in 1 power cycle. So the percentage of injector opening will be calculated as the duty cycle percentage, which is based on 1 power cycle in a 4-stroke engine. This means that the duty cycle at different RPMs will also result in different pulse widths. However, this is not the end of the story. The pulse width or duty cycle can vary in different engine conditions. The ECU will adjust the calculation based on input data from all the sensors we previously discussed. To illustrate, if the duty cycle in standard engine conditions is 12.5% and the engine is cold, then the sensor will command an increase in the length of the duty cycle. At 1,000 revolutions per minute, in cold engine conditions due to being newly started, the ECU will provide additional fuel by extending the duty cycle by 12.5%. This results in a PWM of 30 milliseconds, which means there will be more fuel supplied to the combustion chamber to increase the explosion until the engine reaches the ideal temperature. The same goes for other sensors. Their goal is to maintain engine performance in highly variable conditions and terrains. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of both components. We'll start with injection. The first advantage of injection is that you can customize the fuel supply more easily. For instance, you can simply change the injector specs and then map the PWM. You can also adjust the vehicle for fuel efficiency or power. However, the downside is that the equipment for setting it up is more expensive than a screwdriver. The second advantage is that it saves fuel because fuel efficiency is higher. The third advantage is that it produces maximum power at every engine revolution. And the fourth is that it is more environmentally friendly compared to carburetors. Let's talk about the drawbacks of injection. Firstly, it relies too much on sensors, which are quite numerous. If there's a malfunction in just one component, it will disrupt the fuel supply calculations. This directly impacts engine power, exhaust gas, and fuel efficiency. Ultimately, this can lead to a decline in performance compared to carburetors in all aspects. Secondly, maintenance costs are higher. It's a trade-off compared to carburetors. While the cost is higher, it's less frequent compared to the cheaper but more regular maintenance of carburetors. Thirdly, maintenance costs tend to be higher each time there's a breakdown, including parts associated with the injector. And fifthly, it's clear that its durability or longevity isn't as good as carburetors. Carburetors have been tested and proven over time, and they continue to be in demand. Now we move on to the opposite camp, namely the carburetor. The first is it's easy to adjust the fuel delivery with just a screwdriver to chase either power or fuel efficiency. The second is durability tends to be better compared to injection. However, we have to adjust and maintain it frequently. And the third is the ease of finding a shop that can fix the carburetor if there is a problem with this tool while we are on the road. As for the disadvantages, the first is that the exhaust emissions tend to be higher. Usually, the exhaust will be dirtier and certainly cause irritation to the eyes. The second is that it's harder to find the right balance between power and fuel efficiency. The third is that it tends to waste more fuel compared to injection under the same standard conditions. And the fourth is less optimal power in some engine speed conditions, because the carburetor settings are fixed. We've covered all the advantages and disadvantages of both the injector and carburetor. We're not drawing any conclusions here because everyone has different needs, requirements, and tastes. If you want to share your conclusions based on your personal experiences, write them in the comments section below. We can discuss them and read them together, especially for friends who are still confused about choosing between a carburetor or an injector.
Okay, so based on sa presentations, ano nga daw yung pinagkaiba? Yes, Mr. Andaya.
Sir, based dun sa discussion, sinabi din yung pros and cons ng dalawang, yung injector tsaka nung carburetor. So, dun daw po sa injector, mas less yung emission, pero mas mahal yung maintenance, like yung mga sensor. Saka sir, ang mga bago ngayong model is medyo fragile, hindi siya pwede basta-basta galawin kasi tawag dito.
Check engine.
Sensitive masyado ang mga may sensor. Tapos, ang carburetor kasi sir, ang alam ko po sa ngayon, yung mga carburetor ay nabibilan po siya ng carburetor kit pag nasiraan. Pero, yung carburetor naman po ay mas mataas ang emission. Tapos, yun nga, yung mas lalo yung usok na nilalabas doon ng mga carburetor. Tapos hindi safe sa tao. Yun lang, sir.
Okay po. Any additional inputs base dun sa presentation? Anyone? Tama yung observation ni Daniel and so yun yung present. Baka may dadagdag pa yung iba. Wala na. So ang isa pang advantage ng ating carburetor ay pwede siyang i-adjust doon sa depende doon sa prospects mo, doon sa halimbawa gusto mo matipid yung gas, pero yung isa naman gusto mo mas mabilis. So meron kang adjustment na gagawin. Yes, sino pa? Do you have any additional pa? Wala na. So we'll proceed with the next part. Parang design. So I think quietly we have discussed some of those things. So fuel flows from the valves to the jets and into the venturis of the carburetor. I think itong mga venturis na ito, tsaka itong mga to, na-experience na rin ito, no? Di ba? Halimbawa sa motor, kapag ka carb type, kapag ka yung halimbawa, masasabi natin yung mababa ang minor, yung habang nananakbo na mamatay. Anong ginagawa natin?
Yes, sir.
Na-adjust
lang po.
Na-adjust yung minor para tumaas. So, ganito rin kasi yung idea natin pagka-carb, di ba? Kung carb type, so we can easily adjust yung flow of fuel. We can adjust higher or lower depending upon yung sa ating preference. Kung mas gusto natin mas mataas, di tinataas, adjust natin dun sa needle. So the smaller area of the venturi creates a low pressure zone that draws fuel into the airstream. So the dry intake track of modern fuel injected engine is shown from filter throttle body to manifold. Fuel is not added until just before the air enters the cylinders, allowing the more convoluted path design without paddling. Okay, next. So, sabi dyan, the long individual intake runners can be seen here. Yan. The long intake path is tuned to improve cylinder filling efficiency at low engine speed. So, yung sunod natin, tawag nating timing. So, the dusty old distributor is reliable, but crude method of controlling ignition lead, and then sometimes we consider tinatawag nating timing. So, assuming that there is a little play between the crankshaft and the distributor. And then, di ba napapansin nyo, limbawa, yung mga nagdo-drawback sa mga motor, cycle, ano, yung mga pumuputok-putok. So, anong ating connotation kapag ka ganun, yung mga nagdo-drawback, yung mga sumasabog-sabog, anong sabi natin? Salaan, timing, di ba, ano? So, static ignition pacing is easily controlled, allowing to accurate timing of the spark event relative to piston position. However, automotive engines are not static devices. Increases in engine speed means less actual time between crank angles, so ignition advance must increase just to maintain the amount of burn time between the first spark event at top dead center. So ram tuning can work on both the intake and exhaust side of an engine. So the tune header of this Toyota MR2 greatly improved exhaust scavenging. So on mechanical distributors, the increasing advance is accomplished with a set of rotating weights secured by springs. Adjusting the mass of the weights and tension of the springs give crude adjustments to pacing of the distributor shaft relative to the crankshaft, advancing ignition at higher engine speed. So to compensate for engine load, many mechanical distributors incorporate a secondary adjustment for vacuum diaphragm. So this diaphragm employs an actuator rod that also shifts distributor that pacing relative to manifold pressure. So since lower loads exhibit increased volume, timing is advanced to compensate and increase performance. As load increases, the diaphragm returns to its position, reducing timing to prevent detonation from excessive spark lead. So this allows maximum what timing to be easily with the vacuum line removed and better fuel economy. And power at cruise and idle when vacuum is present. So the drawback to the vacuum advance is lack of adjustment range. Combination with larger camshafts or certain intake manifold designs offer render load adjustment based on single vacuum source unreliable. This often has a tuner resorting to removing the vacuum reference to keep ignition advance more stable. Okay po. So next. So typical mechanical distributor with vacuum advance. So ito yung example. Ano yun? Okay po, noted. Mr. Villanueva, John Lloyd, and sino yung isa? Pagkaliwagan. Okay, so typical method or typical mechanical distributor with vacuum advance as you can see in the picture. Okay, si Jebrol daw, our present and late. Okay. So ideally, there would be a way to accurately adjust the amount of spark advance between versus speed and actual engine load. So EFI system give the calibrator the flexibility to make the ignition adjustment at more than 1 or 2 points. Next, yung tinatawag nating cam timing, another adjustment that is often available but admittedly more intrusive and messy is changing the camshaft timing. So advancing or turning the camshaft relatively to crankshaft angle can shift the tuning characteristics of the engine to allow greater efficiency at higher low speed respectively. So advancing the camshaft generally gives better low and mid-range torque by closing the intake valve sooner. So trapping the charge in the cylinder before it gets a chance to revert back into the intake ports as the piston begins to ascend. So since most systems exhibit relatively little exhaust scavenging effect at lower speeds, opening the exhaust valve earlier also reduces static pumping losses by venting the high pressure more immediately to the exhaust system. Yan. So yung idea natin, ano? So the timing chain links the camshaft to the crankshaft and determines the relative position. So most older engines do not allow for easy adjustment since the timing chain must be entirely removed to re-index the crank gear. So ito yung ating common na ginagawa, ano, yung tina-timing natin. Ano? So yung iba kasi timing chain na yung iba, pulley pa or belt pa ang gamit. Ano? So likewise, retarding cam timing allows the intake valve to remain open later where the ram tuning effect can continue to pack air into the cylinder at the end to the intake stroke at higher speed, making more power. So as speed increases, scavenging efficiency increases in the exhaust, larger volumes of gases can be extracted from the cylinder with a later valve closing. This leaves more empty volume for the intake charge to fill off on the following cycle. So getting the camshaft drive gear usually gives removal of the front cover and accessory drive, which is usually done the practical during tuning process in the working automobile. So since it is difficult to adjust cam timing kasi nga commonly kailangan pang tanggalin yung cover and then uh, iniikot-ikot pa and then so syempre medyo tasky siya. Ano. So a compromise needs to be found that gives the best performance split. So if the camshaft load position could be altered with respect to speed and load, greater overall engine efficiency could be had without actually changing components. So most actual calibration, as you can see in the picture, work with at the OEM level. So every possible engine parameter is carefully controlled and measured to ensure repeatability of the test. Okay pa? So far, do you have any questions? Next. So the addition of full electronic controls gives the calibrator much greater flexibility in the tuning process. So, kanina nga, di ba, yung nakita niyo sa presentation, kapag ang involved by tuning, so it is done electronically na rin, ano? So, pinoprogram na rin siya. So, the addition of full electronic controls give the calibrator much greater flexibility in the tuning process. What used to take hours of dirty work can now be accomplished in minutes with just a keyboard and the right software. Okay, so pinoprogram na lang. So the blue boxes on the picture in the foreground are signal processor for in-cylinder pressure measurements. So the business end of $1 million production level engine dyno can be seen in the background. Okay, next. So kanina we have shown the several sensor. So first, sabi dyan before you deliver the tables that control the engine operation, it is important to understand that the computer sees, okay? Kasi nga sabi natin ang computer ang pinaka-brain natin, ano? So the old saying, garbage in, garbage out applies directly to AFI system. More often than not, the cause for a poor running car lies not in a bad calibration, but rather in a bad calculation. So, dito, pag pinag-usapan ng EFI, Pagka pangit ang performance ng vehicle, it's not, ang issue ay carburation. Ang issue na ay calculation. Okay? So this is to say that the engine output controls are formed based on inputs and calculations, not merely manual carburation. Kasi nga ay automation na ano. So this is to say that the engine output controls are formed based on inputs and calculations. So a perfectly good calculation on a bad input parameter drive just a poorly tuned car. Kaya nga 'di ba nung ano, so meron tayong variant ng mga sasakyan ngayon ano. So for example, yung Wigo, Toyota Wigo ay halimbawa may 2020, may 2021, ngayon 2025 na variant. So ibig sabihin, yung first variant is improved dun sa latest. Ano? So kung halimbawa, yung kanyang fuel efficiency is not ganun kaganda dun sa mga first variant, so habang tumatagal siya, ini-improve nila yung fuel efficiency. Kaya ngayon tayo nagkakaroon ng mga variants. Yung variants, yun yung model ng sakyan. Ano? Kaya kung halimbawa yung variant mo ay 2021 in comparison dun sa variant 2025, although they are same brands or same company, meron pa rin siyang improvement na ginagawa. Kasi nga, we improve the inputs and calculations on each brand or in each model. Ano? Kasi ngayon ang pinag-uusapan hindi na yung ano hindi na yung carburation. Ang pinag-uusapan na how we inputs and make calculations to make the operations of the vehicle better or at its optimum performance. Doon na tayo lagi sa optimum performance. Ano? Okay po. So far, do you have any questions? Kung ano yung matapos natin sa discussions ngayon, yun yung coverage ng midterm exam. Okay po. Next. So a perfectly good calculation on a bad input parameter drives just as a poorly tuned car. So ibig sabihin kung pangit yung performance ng nabili mong sakyan, ibig sabihin hindi maganda yung inputs and calculations. So although not all sensors are absolutely critical to engine function or drivability, there are a handful that the EFI computer can't live without. So likewise, sometimes we have redundant sensors where only one really impacts the final calculation of engine output controls, and others are merely monitoring sensors or monitoring device lang. Ano? So the first one is the throttle position sensor or the TPS. The throttle position sensor is one of the most critical inputs for an EFI system. Think of it as a volume knob at the stereo in the form and function. So siguro para mas maintindihan natin what is throttle position sensor ay di ating panoorin yung video presentation. Then mamaya, somebody will explain on what they have watched. Thank you. Wait lang ha. Yun na naman, sisingit na naman si Alice, wag ng kanyang kalokohan.
Throttle position sensor. Equip. Throttle position sensor. Most computer-equipped engines use a potentiometer-type throttle position sensor to signal to the computer the exact amount of throttle opening due to its linear output. Throttle position sensor is located on the throttle butterfly spindle. Functions of the TP sensor computer input. The computer senses any change in throttle position and changes the fuel mixture and ignition timing. The throttle position sensor used on fuel-injected vehicles acts as an electronic accelerator pump. This means that the computer will pulse additional fuel from the injectors when the throttle is depressed. Because the air can quickly flow into the engine when the throttle is opened, additional fuel must be supplied to prevent the air-fuel mixture from going lean, causing the engine to hesitate when the throttle is depressed. If the TP sensor is unplugged or defective, the engine may still operate satisfactorily, but hesitate upon acceleration. Throttle position sensors are among the most common potentiometer-type sensors. The computer uses its input to determine the amount of throttle opening and the rate of change. A typical sensor has 3 wires. A 5-volt reference feed wire from the computer, signal return, a ground wire back to the computer, and a voltage signal wire back to the computer. As the throttle is opened, the voltage to the computer changes. Normal throttle position voltage on most vehicles is about 0.5 volts at idle, closed throttle, and 4.5 volts at wide open throttle, watt. At idle, the resistance of the sensor winding effectively reduces the signal voltage output to the computer. The signal voltage from a throttle position increases as the throttle is opened because the wiper arm is closer to the 5-volt reference.
Okay, can I call Andrew Balahibo? Andrew? Andrew? Hindi sinagot. Lalagay ko ng 0. Ayaw. Arven, Barte. Barte Arven, kita ko pumasok na yun. Nasaan na? Yeah. Nagle-left the group na. Nagtatawag. Next, Villanueva, John Lloyd.
Sir, present.
Yes. Can
Present
you
po.
summarize what you have watched? Can you summarize? Can you explain on what you have watched? Sige, Dries.
Oy, sir, ang TPS po ay siya po yung nagbibigay ng signal sa ECU na kung gaano kadami ang fuel amount po na ibibigay sa injector para po sa throttle response po ng isang vehicle.
Okay, tama. Very good. Any additional inputs? Yes, Jerome.
Sir, ang TPS po ay para sa air fuel mixture po. Tapos sa mga fuel injected, saka nag-act as an electronic accelerator pump.
Okay. Tama, very good. So, nice observations. As you can see, the throttle position sensor is located strategically for the opening and closing ng ating fuel. So, actually, it serves as electronic accelerator pump. Ibig sabihin, siya yung nag-aano ng pressure ng fuel. Okay pa? So, let's continue. Okay, so the throttle position sensor is one of the most critical inputs for an EFI system. So this is of the volume knob on the steering, the form and function. So the ESP, as you can see on the video presentation, tells the computers exactly where the throttle blade is so that it can be determined whether the driver is attempting to idle. So kung nag-idle siya, kung siya ba ay nagko-cruise at a steady state, or nag-accelerate or nag-decelerate. Okay pa? So additionally, the rate and direction of change of the sensor helps the computer determines if the driver is attempting to change states. Most TPS sensors are basically a rotary potentiometer. Okay, so rotary potentiometer. So that varies output based on position around a dial. So the further up the dial, the longer the electrical path gets through a set of resistors. So as you can see, meron siyang tatlong path. Yung isa ay 0 to 0.5 5 volt scale. So that is connected with the power source, yung 5 volts. And another one, meron tayong ground. And then yung isa naman, yung connected going to the ECU. Ano, yung isa yung nagsesend. Indicating closed throttle and 4.5 greater indicating wide open. So it is important to know exactly what the threshold is between closed throttle and part throttle. So meron tayong closed throttle and part throttle for calibration to ensure that the computer actually uses the idle tables when the driver's foot is off the pedal. It is a common mistake for a car owner to open the idle screw on the throttle body without checking TPS output. So if the blade is open beyond CT threshold to prevent stalling, the TPS must be readjusted to reflect new closed throttle position. Likewise, a stretched cable or bent linkage may prevent the computer from seeing what even through the blade is 99% open. So since the effective flow area changes so little between 70% and 100% blade opening, many systems consider anything over 70% or so to be wide open depending on RPM. Yeah. Okay, so next is the coolant temperature. Okay, wait lang ha. So, okay. Okay po. So, the next sensor is the coolant temperature sensor. So, mounted directly to throttle shaft, the TPS sensor reports blade angle to the PCM. So, actually, we can finish the discussions of those different sensors. Kaya if matapos natin yung discussions, so more on laboratory na tayo after midterm exam. So, kung sino man yung makakapagdala ng pwede natin gamitin na tools or materials during the activity, so I will give them a better incentives or 100% remarks whoever brings testing devices. Kaya Jude, kung magdadala ka, mahihila yung zero mo. Ano? Okay, so mounted directly to throttle shaft, the TPS sensor reports up blade to the PCM. The next is the coolant temperature sensor. Okay, so basically from the word itself, coolant temperature, responsible for detecting of the performance or the condition of the coolant. Ano? So coolant temperature, temperature of the engine itself is another extremely important monitoring point. So sa ating panel or dashboard, we can monitor the tawag doon, the engine temperature. Ano, 'di ba? Masasabi natin kung pagka siya ay tawag doon, overheating na or heating or leading to higher temperature. So this is a two-way street. Engines have a relatively narrow temperature band in which operate most effectively. So too cold and fuel has trouble atomizing before combustion process. Too hot and pre-ignition in chamber has almost identical negative effects to knock or expansion and distortion risk. So warping critical sealing surfaces. Actual desired operating temperature depends upon desired engine usage. So most current OEM systems are thermostatically controlled to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit to allow for ideal combustion and emission. So typically, a 20-degree drop from about 180 degrees Fahrenheit nets cooler chamber temperature and allows those few extra degrees of spark advance that make horsepower, much like the mechanical choke or carburetor. EFI system allows for enrichment and added idle speed based at cold temperatures. Doon sa video presentation kanina, we easily distinguish na kapag malamig ang makina, so the electronic or the ECU add additional efforts para mag-start yung engine. Ano? So going to cool down the thermostat opening temperature can keep many OEM or processors in the warm-up routine, skewing target for fuel delivery and idle speed. So a skilled calibrator can change the parameters that determine what is warm up to avoid excess enrichment. However, intentionally running a cold engine and heat temperature is usually reserved for a drag race application where emissions and cylinder wash from excess draw fuel are not a concern. Knowing how much enrichment to add depends directly upon actual temperature. So this comes from a sensor in either coolant pot or mounted directly in the cylinder head itself. So these sensors are typically a basic thermistor. Ano? So with a resistance that varies directly with contact temperature. So most ECT sensors are of negative temperature coefficient, and the NCT thermistors reduce in resistance as temperature increases. So with a steady input voltage, which is usually 5 volts, the thermistor increase in temperature are read as higher return voltages from the sensor as the result of the dropping resistance thanks to Ohm's law. So if the sensor is placed in the coolant path, it is important that no air pockets are present. So it is common error to register a relatively cold input signal when the sensor is actually sitting at in packet out of contact with actual engine temperature. Since most EFI systems have safeguard in the code to allow for higher the speed, which is a more coolant circulation, increased electric fan activity and richer fueling condition in high engine temperatures. So this input can be an engine saver. So a cylinder head temperature sensor mounted directly to the casting reduces the chance of this error. So the thing to keep in mind here in the cylinder head temperature are typically 8 to 50 degree Fahrenheit, warmer the coolant temperatures at any given time to due to conductivity. So as you can see, this is our ECT transfer functions. So transfer functions of several different ECT sensors. Note that the logarithmic scale of for resistance that yield larger changes with temperature. So the intake air left and coolant at the right, ito, intake air and then coolant temperature sensors are usually anti-thermistor with slightly different housings to accommodate their installation environments. Okay, so let's have a video presentations for coolant temperature sensor. Wait lang.
Show them your appreciation. Say it with a gift of Nescafe Gold.
Temperature sensor is used to measure the temperature of the engine coolant. The readings from this sensor are then feed back to the engine control unit. This data from the sensor is then used to adjust the fuel injection and ignition timing. On some vehicles, the sensor may be used to switch on the electronic cooling fans as well. The data may also be used to provide readings for a coolant temperature gauge on the dash. Fuel injection. The engine control unit uses the coolant temperature to adjust the amount of fuel that is injected into the engine. When the engine is cold, the ECU will inject more fuel be richer to help it warm up faster. As the engine warms up, the engine control unit will gradually reduce the amount of fuel that is injected. When the engine is warm, the fuel mixture can be leaner to provide maximum fuel economy with the lowest possible exhaust emissions. Ignition timing. The engine control unit also uses the coolant temperature to adjust the timing of the spark plugs. When the engine is cold, the spark plugs will be fired slightly earlier than when the engine is warm. This helps the engine to warm up faster and run more smoothly. Fan control. The engine control unit uses the coolant temperature to control the speed of the engine cooling fan. When the engine is cold, the fan will not run or will run at a slow speed. As the engine warms up, the fan will speed up to help keep the engine cool. The engine coolant temperature sensor is also used as an important input for the following: idle air control position, oxygen sensor closed loop status, canister purge on/off times, idle speed, engine coolant temperature sensor construction. Engine coolant temperature sensors are constructed of a semiconductor material. Thermistor is the heart of this sensor and is responsible for converting temperature changes into electrical resistance variations. Most commonly, negative temperature coefficient thermistors are used, meaning their resistance decreases as the temperature increases. That decreases in resistance as the temperature of
So as you can see on the video presentations, we can test the electronic components using testers. Ano? So yan. So we can test the thermistor if it is working or not base dyan sa procedures na yan. And then commonly, during our laboratory activities, you must identify whether yung mga sensors na yan is in good condition or not through testing. Ano? So yan, pwedeng using the multi-tester, identify nyo if the thermistor is working or not. Okay po? Yan naman ang ating mga eskwela, naglalayasan na pagka magko-Q&A na. Okay, sige.
the sensor increases. Coolant sensors have very high resistance when the coolant is cold and low resistance when the coolant is hot. Voltage change mechanism and output signal. The engine coolant temperature sensor typically operates in a voltage divider circuit. Imagine two resistors connected in series with a voltage source applied across them. The voltage across each resistor depends on their relative values. In the engine coolant temperature sensor, one resistor is the fixed value resistor, and the other is the thermistor. As the temperature changes, the thermistor's resistance changes, altering the voltage division across the two resistors. The voltage measured across the thermistor, or across the fixed resistor, depending on the circuit design, becomes the output signal. This output voltage decreases with increasing temperature, due to the decreasing resistance of the thermistor. This change in voltage is what the engine control unit reads and interprets to determine the coolant temperature.
Ma'am, ang order mo ma'am, Fortuna dapat.
Ma, dapat ipakinig mo ng music para tumalino. Sa dami ng opinions, kailangan maging mabusisi. Magtiwala.
Okay, so that's how ECT works, or engine coolant temperature sensor works. Okay po? Anyone? O wala naman. Anyone who can share? Dun sa video presentation? Who can summarize? Sige na nga, yung iba naman. Paano magkakagrade yung iba? Bibal? Mr. Bibal? Nag-e-excite na pagka-recitation. Mr. Bibal, yung iba naman muna, Jude.
Mark Jude, kalma muna.
Mr. Bobadilla. Bobadilla. Eh, wala. Puro wala mga aswang.
Sir, nabiyahe na po ata yon si Jade.
Tinapay. Sige, Mr. Tinapay. Gerald.
Ano nga gagawin?
Summarize kung ano yung napanood mo.
Ulan temperature na po ay kung matiyak ang kahit na pero
Choppy ka.
sabi ko
Puputol-putol. Manananggal, di maintindihan. Type mo na lang. Anyone? Mendoza, Mike Kelvin. Mendoza, John Kenwin. Malyada Warren. Magbuhat, Kian Paulo.
Tara na po yan.
Summarize what you have watched.
Wala sir, nasira ko kanina.
Sus! Lumang katugtugin na yan!
Nasabi ko na eh. O sige, dun sa mga hindi pa natatawag, any volunteer. Hindi kayo magkakagrade ha pag hindi kayo nag-share. Sina Jude A, 10 points na, kayo 0 pa. O sige, anybody. Yaan nyo yung ayaw sumagot, hindi kayo 50 points na, sila 0 pa.
Mark Jude, sagot na Mark Jude.
O sige, Jude.
Sir, meron ngayong oxygen sensor?
Hindi. Engine coolant sensor, the ECT.
Sir, yung engine coolant, sir, yun po, sir, ang nag-check po, sir, ng ating temperature. Sir, nakabase din po, sir, na nakalagay din po sa ating dashboard, sir, na makikita nyo din po dun kung pag tumaas po siya ng 8, sir, ibig sabihin po, sir, ay high na overheat na po, sir. Pag siya naman po ay nasa middle po na, sir, ibig sabihin po ang nadidetect po ng sensor pong yun ay normal temperature po, sir.
Okay, so, ano daw role ng thermistor? Thermistor? Flores? Vincent? Ano yung role ng thermistor? Hernandez Carlo. Si Carlo palabas-labas pag nagre-recitation. Okay, Charles Darwin. Yan mo sila ay sumagot eh.
Sir, yung role po ng thermistor, yun po yung yung nag-ano ng electrical resistance at siya po yung nagpapalit within the temperature, sir. At commonly din used po sa sasakyan at sa electronics na nagsusukat at nagko-control po ng temperature, sir. Yun lang po.
Kalimitan yung yes, Jude.
Sir, ano kayo, thermistor, thermostat po?
Thermistor, boss Jude.
Yun po, sir, pag nainit po ang coolant, sir, nagbubukas po yun, sir, para po mag-rotate sa radiator para po mahanginan, sir, ng fan.
Okay. So, bakit yung iba ang ginagawa ay tinatanggal siya kapag nagkakaroon ng problema?
Sir, yun po, minsan po, sir, kinakasira po ng sir, o-ring dahil pag nainit po, sir, hindi na po, sir, nagbubukas.
Okay. So, bakit tinatanggal? Yung iba.
Ginagawa po, sir, ng iba, sir, ginagawa ay nirerekta po, sir, para po hindi na po magba-bypass po. Ay, para po mag-bypass na po at hindi na po siya maano pa po pag magbubukas, sir.
Okay, yun yung
Wow, Master Jude.
Parang yun yung pansamantagal na solusyon,
Apo, sir, pero mas maganda rin po may gayon kasi para po ang makina hindi yung naglalako. Meron po kasing issue po minsan, naglalako po yung kulat at langis, gayon po, sir.
Okay. So, yung iba, pansamantagal na solusyon, tinatanggal na muna yung thermistor or yung thermostat na yun, Pero parang pinaka-efficient talaga is palitan siya at saka improve at saka dapat huwag siyang tanggalin. Pero yung iba, pansamantagal na solusyon, tinatanggal. Okay, so let's continue, So, as you can see in the presentation, so we have the air inlet temperature. So, an air temperature has a direct effect on density as well as a burn rate. So, ibig sabihin, kung maganda yung pasok ng hangin, sufficient yung oxygen level na pumapasok, good yung combustion. So, as air is heated, it's gain volume and lose density. In speed density system, this measure is critical to determining exactly how many oxygen molecules are available for combustion in the current cycle. Since the engine displaces the same amount of manifold air in a given cycle, temperature directly affects the density, which is the number of available oxygen molecules actually making into the chamber. So on mass air measurement system, air inlet temperature does not directly adjust calculated charge fill for fuel calculation, but it is still used as modifier to control burn characteristics. Ibig sabihin, if the air inlet temperature is okay, so syempre it dictates also the possibility of a better combustion. Inlet temperature is directly proportional to allowable spark advance assuming constant fuel delivery. Colder inlet temperatures means more timing advance can be used and resulting in more available horsepower. Conversely, how much hotter inlet temperatures often results of supercharging, require reducing timing to avoid knock that comes from the increased burn speed. Yan. Ito yung ating ECT. Ano. So, the IAT sensor, okay, IAT pala, sorry. The IAT, which is the air inlet temperature, should always be installed in a location that best represent the temperature of the air entering the cylinder. In the case of a supercharger, this means placing it after the compressor to measure heat soak in seen in turbo Toyota Supra engine. So most inlet temperature sensors are vary similar to very similar in design and functions to NTC coolant temperature sensor. So since air density is much lower than coolant density, sensor elements can be unshielded without risk of damage, making for faster response to changes in conditions. So it is important for the calibrator to understand where the inlet temperature is being monitored on forced induction applicants. So while some OEM supercharged applications actually employ two inlet temperature sensor to monitor both ambient conditions and actual inlet port temperature. So most systems only have one such input. Ideally, these sensors should uh, be placed as near the cylinder intake port as possible so that the computer sees actual charge temperature. So this allows for tighter control in supercharged applications where the charge temperatures vary from 90 degrees Fahrenheit ambient to over 300 degrees Fahrenheit in non-intercooled vehicles. So again, a skilled calibrator can compensate in tune for a supercharged engine with an inlet temperature sensor installed ahead of the compressor with a shift in temperature compensation function. So by shifting the function and leaving an appropriate safety margin, everything can work just fine. But it is here to relocate the sensor for a more accurate signal. So yung sunod yung tawag nating manifold surface temperature. So some systems add another sensor to monitor manifold surface temperature. This allows for additional routine in the computer to model heat transfer from the intake manifold from the intake charge immediately ahead of the cylinder. So again, this effect is more pronounced on speed density system where the actual air mass entering the cylinder must be calculated and temperature plays a bigger part in required fuel delivery. So these sensors are actually almost identical in design and constant to the NTC coolant temperature sensor. So mass airflow, since internal combustion engines are so insensitive to air fuel ratio, it is important to know exactly how much of each component is entering the engine at any given time. So the best way to ensure accurately fuel delivery is to have accurate air measurements before calculating anything. So susukatin muna yung air volumes first. Ano? So speed density systems are constantly making calculations of estimate airflow based on pressure. Second is temperature, and third is the engine speed. So mass air system employs a sensor that directly measures air mass flow into the engine. So basically, the more air molecules moving past the sensor, the more the signal changes. So early units use spring-loaded doors that were pushed farther open by the force of the incoming air. So the density and velocity of the incoming air is proportional to the force on the door. So the doors of the sensors were then attached to a rotary potentiometer, much like the TPS. Ano? The drawback of this unit is the lack of temperature compensation, and these early sensors require further calculation based on inlet temperature to determine the actual air mass. So modern units use a small heated wire or film element suspended in the airstream, and as more air molecules pass by the heated element, more current must pass through into to maintain a constant temperature. So as current increases in the heated element, the output of the sensor changes. This heated element is cooled in the proportion to the mass of air flowing over it, incorporating temperature compensation for a direct mass flow input to the PCM. For Ford vehicle, output is 0 to 5 volt signal. Yun yung mga tawag dun, yung voltages involved dun sa mga sensor. Yung isa kasi is going dun sa ating positive source, which is from the battery. And then yung isa naman is from the negative. Then yung isa naman yung nakakonect dun sa ating ECU. Ano? So for the Ford vehicle, the output is 0 to 5 volt signal. For GM or General Motors vehicles, output is 0 to 12,000 Hertz wave. So either way, the transfer function ends up on exponential curve with more resolution at low flow to accurately meter idle and cruise loads. So although the wire element itself is relatively small, it is placed in the meter housing such that the amount of air crossing the element is directly proportional to the amount of wait lang of air entering the engine. So most OEM mass airflow sensors are sized to be slightly smaller than the rest of the inlet plumbing in an effort to control velocity and increase temperature. So yan yung ating modern hot wire element map sensor yung nasa picture. So the modern hot wire element map sensor is an extremely accurate method of measuring income air mass. So meron siyang sensor dun sa ating mesh. As you can see, yan, kita ba yung arrow? Yan. So notice that the honeycomb flow element and wire screen that help reduce turbulence entering the meter. So a closer view of the map sensor, ito nasa next page natin. Yan, kita ba yung arrow? So a closer view of the map sensor shows that the heated wire element that hangs into the airstream. So the cooling rate of this wire is directly proportional to the mass of air moving past it. So as you can see in the picture, so the vane air meter installed in 1990 BMW series, notice that the curved balance chamber of the flapper door, so this design is still required significant temperature to work properly. So a common mistake by many performance enthusiasts is to cut out a portion of the mass airflow or the map sensor to improve total flow. So mali daw yun. So while total flow is increased by doing this, the side effect is change in the ratio of air cross the metering element to total flow, reducing the output, the map sensor at any given actual flow rate. So the net effect of this is linear engine operation condition resulting from fuel calculations based on a lower airflow into the computer. For example, cutting the center divider of GM and the map sensor. So nangyayari, typically it shifts the output down by 7%. So hindi advisable na kinakat. So the bigger concern is that the shift modification does not simplify a shift output down across the range as low-speed flow demonstrates a more pronounced effect. So while many ang OEM, di ba, original manufacturer, nakalimutan ko yung ibig sabihin ng E. So run a safely rich airflow ratio at what? Leaning out without mixing by changing map output can lead to a knock. So yeah. So the airbox of the Subaru WRX STI features an integrated map sensor. This particular unit is made by Denso and is a hot film element. So the problem that many performance enthusiasts encounter is that the OEMs have not embedded the power and total airflow to the vehicle to be drastically increased. So most OEM mass airflow sensors are scaled to have the most resolution possible within the anticipated range of possible flow requirements. So as airflow increases with increased power production, we often find that this anticipated maximum flow can be exceeded. So the result is an OEM meter that reaches its maximum power before the engine speaks. This is often referred to as a peg map sensor. So due to the limited engagement range and typically small size, it is common to replace OEM map sensor on performance vehicles. Aftermarket map sensors invariably have a different output from the original, and even if only slightly. Okay, so para mas maintindihan natin yung function ng map sensor, I will show you a video presentation.
Sinisipon? Mag-Neosep Z Plus. Mas bilis galing para balik saya din.
The map sensor. The manifold absolute pressure sensor. Map sensor is one of the sensors used in the electronic control system of an internal combustion engine. The map sensor is used by the ECM to calculate fuel injection based on intake manifold pressure. Turbocharged engines usually require both MAP and MAF sensors. How does it work? The MAP sensor monitors engine load and outputs a signal based on vacuum pressures. The engine computer uses this data to adjust explosion timing and fuel injection. When the engine is under heavy load, the vacuum drops due to a wide throttle opening. When the computer analyzes a load signal from the sensor, it normally changes the fuel blend to be somewhat richer than usual. This allows the engine to produce more power. The computer will delay explosion timing to prevent engine damage when the car is moving with a light load, as the engine requires less power. Where is it located? The MAP sensor is typically located on the intake manifold of most vehicles, but it can also be mounted to the car's body using a vacuum pipe connected to the intake manifold. The specific location of the MAP sensor depends on the design of the vehicle. What are the symptoms of a bad MAP sensor? 1. A lean or rich air-fuel mixture. An imbalanced air-fuel ratio can cause various issues such as surging, stalling, lack of power, hesitation on acceleration, backfiring, and overheating. 2. Illumination of the malfunction indicator light, MIL. A faulty MAP sensor may not provide accurate manifold pressure data immediately or may give the ECM unclear data. When the AQ identifies a problem with the MAP sensor, the MIL light turns on to alert the driver of the issue. 3. Inefficient use of fuel. A faulty map sensor can cause the ECM to think the engine is under a heavy load, leading to excessive fuel consumption and poor efficiency. 4. Emissions test failure. If the ECM cannot control the air-fuel ratio properly, your car may produce more pollutants and fail an emissions test. How much does it cost to replace the map sensor? The average cost of repairing a map sensor varies depending on the car model and labor expenses, ranging from $60 to $170. Labor costs typically range from $30 to $70, while the sensor itself can range from $30 to $100. That's all for this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay po. So, do you have any questions with map sensor? Okay, wala. Nagawa po ng aking charger. Yan. Sira na ata ay nag-charge. Next. Okay, so aside from sensor flow and output range, the calibrator must also pay attention to the actual installation of the map sensor. So, since we are ultimately dealing with airflow through a confined path and only entering a small portion of its determined total flow, it is important to understand the effects of lambing on meter outputs. So the primary concern is the assumption of laminar flow across the area of the map sensor. If the airflow across the sensor is greater on one side than the other, the output can be skewed relatively to the blocking of the metering element. So the common source for such problem is usually a bend in the intake plumbing immediately ahead of the map sensor. So since airflow is biased toward the outside radius of a bend, placing the metering element of the outside radius of a bend yields an output that indicates higher total flow that is currently present. So the opposite is also true with produced output resulting from element placement on the inside radius of a bend. So generally speaking, if the map sensor must be placed without a bend in the inlet plumbing, it should be done such that the element is perpendicular to plane of the bend. So air filter design or placement in the vehicle may also demonstrate a similar condition. Okay. So the manifold absolute pressure or the map sensor is a key element in speed density system. So charge density can be calculated by measuring the exact pressure in the manifold and knowing an accurate temperature. So skip natin yun. Okay, ito yung ating mga sample ng map sensor. Okay. So this will has teeth of ridges, yan, made of readily available metal, usually steel. Often or more is the steel of it. Offset. Part 2 of the sensor is the magnetic pickup coil, which is the Hall effect, designed to provide output that fluctuates with the passing of each tooth on ridge of the signal wheel. Okay, so next is the camshaft and crankshaft position sensor. So they are similar in design and constructions. The difference is the length in usually installation. Okay, the crankshaft sensor has a two primary function. Okay, first and most important is for instantaneous engine speed ang crankshaft sensor. So basically, the second function, more critical to sequential system, is to indicate actual rotational position. The location of this missing or extra tooth on the wheel allows the computer to synchronize the first fuel pulse and spark event with the number one cylinder. So additionally, if the computer fails to see the expected speed or acceleration from the CKP, it can recognize a misfire event. Knowing exactly how far the last synchronization the misfire happens also correlates to a particularly cylinder. So this makes it easier to computer to self-diagnose a bad individual plug coil or injector. So I'll be showing you the function of camshaft and crankshaft position sensor.
For 3 times stronger protection from intense tooth sensitivity, use Sensodyne Repair and Protect. Shop now.
Camshaft and essential components for ensuring that your engine Camshaft and crankshaft position sensors are essential components for ensuring that your engine operates smoothly. However, do you know the difference between the two? Don't worry, we got you covered. Let's break it down. Modern engines are all about precision, and these two sensors are at the heart of it. They work together to provide critical information to your car's brain, also known as the ECU, or engine control unit. Without them, your engine would struggle to function, if at all. Let's start with the camshaft position sensor. This little device tracks the position of the camshaft and sends real-time data to the ECU. Why is this important? Because the camshaft controls the opening and closing of your engine's valves, which is critical for proper air and fuel flow into the combustion chamber. So, the camshaft sensor ensures that the valves open and close at the right time for optimal combustion. Pretty cool, right? You'll typically find a camshaft position sensor near the camshaft itself, either at the front or the rear of the engine. The exact location depends on your car's make and model, so check your manual if you're hunting for it. Now, let's talk about the crankshaft position sensor. This sensor tracks the position and speed of the crankshaft. It sends this information to the ECU so it can manage ignition timing and fuel injection. Unlike the camshaft sensor, this one focuses on the piston's movement. So, if you want your spark plugs firing at the right time, you need a healthy crankshaft sensor. The crankshaft position sensor is usually located at the bottom of the engine, near the crankshaft itself. Sometimes it's mounted on the transmission bell housing or on the crankshaft pulley, depending on your car's design. Alright, let's compare these two sensors side by side, so you can understand their unique roles. Even though these sensors have distinct jobs, they're a dynamic duo. Both send crucial data to the ECU, which uses it to synchronize engine timing. The camshaft sensor regulates valve timing, while the crankshaft sensor ensures proper ignition timing and fuel delivery. If these sensors aren't in sync, your engine won't run efficiently. In some cases, it might not even start. So both camshaft and crankshaft sensors are critical for your engine's performance. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments if there are other car topics.
Okay, so basically, it's quite obvious the functions and the locations of the crankshaft and crankshaft sensor. Is anyone can explain or summarize? Anybody? Nobody. Wala na akong eskwela. Charles na lang. Yes, Jude. Yes, Jude. Jude. Hindi kami make.
O, sir.
Okay, make.
Sir, ano pa yung, ano, camshaft sensor po, sir?
Camshaft and crankshaft sensor.
Yun po, sir, ang crankshaft sensor po, sir, yan po, sir, ang nag-ano sa, ano, sir, sa timing po, sir, ng makina. Tapos, mababasa rin po sa pan-diagnose yung pinaka normal timing po, sir, ng sensor po, sir. Yun po, sir, nagbabasa po doon para mabasa po sa pan-diagnose kung tama po ang timing ng crankshaft at ng camshaft at kung delay po or advance.
Okay? Anybody? That's John Kenwin, Nagahart. Can you add some inputs? John Kenwin. Sige, Charles.
Sir, yung sa crankshaft po, or CKP sensor, yan po yung yung sensor na nagmo-monitor po ng position and rotation speed ng crankshaft. At siya po yung nagsasend ng information sa ECU at nag-control po ng fuel injection at saka po ng ignition timing. Yun lang po, sir.
Yes, Jude. Do you have additional input?
Sir, ang CKP sensor po, sir, siya po ang nagko-control ng idle speed po, sir. Siya rin po ang nagbibigay ng power, sir, sa arangka, sir, yung crankshaft position sensor po. O CKP sensor po. Siya rin po nagpapa-start, sir, ng mga ayun po mga FI na makina na wala pong starter.
Okay. Camshaft sensor. Yes, J-Rob.
Sir, ang CKP po ay yung yung nagdidikta sa ECU ng time ng inject ng fuel at ng ignition.
Okay, strategically, saan nakalocate ang camshaft sensor? Camshaft, cam. Near? Yes, Charles. Yes, yan, si Vincent. Bigyan natin siya si Vincent.
Sir, ang location daw po ng camshaft ay front or rear. Dahil ang crankshaft daw po ay sa engine bottom. Alam, sir.
Okay. Bitin yan, boy. Next. Sige nung may additional info. So, strategically, yung camshaft is near the camshaft itself. Ang purpose niya is to monitor the valve timing. Valve timing. While crankshaft is strategically near crankshaft. Strategically used to measure the performance of the pistons. Directly, sabi nga ni Jude, used to monitor ignition timing. Ibig sabihin, camshaft for valve timing, crankshaft, ignition timing, piston positioning. Okay pa? Continue. Let's continue. So, next. We have the rail pressure or the fuel pressure sensor. Yan. So, fuel pressure sensor, attach the vacuum line that allows the sensor to measure actual pressure drop between rail and manifold regardless of boost or pressure. The rail pressure, a less common sensor, is the fuel rail delta pressure or the FRP sensor, as you can see in the picture. The FRP sensor is injector flow rate increases as pressure across the injector increases. This must be molded to correctly calculate the amount of fuel actually making into the intake port. So return fuel system use a fixed ratio of fuel to intake pressure controlled by mechanical regulator. In a returnless system, regulation is performed by varying the duty cycle of the fuel pump itself. So this eliminates the needs to a return line from the engine to the tank. It also eliminates the associated heated in the fuel and splashing upon return to tank and reduces evaporative emissions. So ang FRP sensor or the fuel return pipe sensor is used in returnless fuel system to provide feedback to the computer for fuel pump control. So since returnless system use a variable output fuel pump, the computer needs to know how much pressure is available across the injectors at any given time. So the design and function of FRP sensor is similar to MAP sensor. The difference here is the FRP sensor is exposed to fuel under pressure from the rail on one side of its diaphragm and intake manifold pressure on the other. So this means that the only difference is the delta between the two effects of a change in diaphragm position and signal output. For example, a supercharged engine with commanded rail pressure of 40 psi should show a 50 psi on common pressure sensor under a 10 psi of engine boost, but a delta of 40 psi from the FRP to maintain constant injector potential. So ito naman, the exhaust oxygen sensor shown with foreground and without internal heaters. So the addition of these heating elements allows to accurate measurement a shorter time after engine start. Okay, so siguro, edi pakita ulit natin naman yung fuel pressure sensor. Ano?
Get ready to feel the instant jolt of freshness with Colgate Fresh Confidence. Hello and welcome. Automotive sensors. Today we're diving into a crucial component that keeps your car running smoothly, the fuel pressure sensor. Hello and welcome. This is the 11th video in our series on automotive sensors. Today, we're diving into a crucial component that keeps your car running smoothly, the fuel pressure sensor. Ever wonder how your car ensures the right amount of fuel reaches the engine? Well, you're in the right place. By the end of this video, you'll not only know how it works, but also understand why it's so important for your car's performance. We'll also answer common questions like, can a car run without a fuel pressure sensor? Let's get started. So what exactly is a fuel pressure sensor? This sensor is usually found on the fuel rail of your engine. Its main job, to measure the fuel pressure in the rail and send that information to your car's ECU, or engine control unit. Without it, your car wouldn't know how much fuel to send to the engine. Here's how it works. When your car is running, the fuel pump pushes fuel from the tank to the engine. The fuel pressure sensor keeps track of how much pressure is in the fuel rail and sends this data as an electrical signal to the ECU. Pretty smart, right? Now, why is this important? The ECU needs to know the exact fuel pressure to control the fuel injectors properly. If the pressure is too low, the engine won't get enough fuel and could stall. If it's too high, it could cause engine damage or waste fuel. The sensor helps maintain that perfect balance. So how does the sensor actually do this? Inside the fuel pressure sensor is a pressure-sensitive diaphragm. When the pressure changes, the diaphragm moves, altering the electrical resistance. This change is converted into a signal sent to the ECU, and from there, the ECU decides whether to increase or decrease fuel pressure by adjusting the fuel pump or injectors. But what happens when the fuel pressure sensor goes bad? Well, a faulty sensor can send incorrect data to the ECU, leading to rough idling, poor acceleration, or even the dreaded check engine light. You might notice your car struggling to speed up or using more fuel than usual. Good news though, replacing a faulty fuel pressure sensor is usually a simple job for a mechanic. And if you're up for a DIY challenge, you can do it yourself too. Just make sure you follow the right tools and manufacturer's guide.
Okay, so fuel pressure sensor, fuel pressure regulator sensor. So, anong function niya? Any volunteer dun sa mga wala pa? Yes, Mr. Balahibo.
Ang fuel pressure sensor po ay sumusukat po ito at nagbabantay ng yung pressure po ng gasolina sa loob ng fuel ring. Tapos po, yung pinapadala po nito yung information sa ECU para po makontrol yung tamang dami ng gasolina na i-inject sa makina.
Okay, thank you. Any volunteer? Yes, yan, Jurgen, Samonte.
Sir, yung daw pong SBR sensor ay siya po ang sumusukat po sa presyo ng gasolina papunta po sa mga injector. Kung wala po yun, kung hindi po nasusukat ay mahihirapan po ang ECU para magbigay ng utos sa injector kung gaano karami ang ibibigay na gasolina sa bawat isang injector. Kung magkamali po ito ay nagdudulot po ito ng hirap na paganda ng makina dahil hindi po sapat yung merong kakaunti ang nabibigay na gasolina doon sa makina. Ano po sir?
Okay, thank you. Very good. May additional ka pa, Jude?
Wala na, sir. Tama na ho yan.
Yeah nga. Okay, so thank you. Napaka-comprehensive naman yung paliwanag ni Jurgen. So actually, yun yung function ng ating fuel regulator sensor. So, dinedetect niya yung pressure involved at saka yung fuel delivery dun sa injection. So, actually, kapag nagkaroon lang ng problema dun sa sensor, madali lang naman yung solution. Base dun sa presentations, we just simply replace the sensor. Okay pa? Pwede ba tayo mag-break kahit 15 minutes muna? Pwede ba? Post ko lang ang aking recording.
Sige, sir. Break tayo.